We all know Malcolm X as the freedom fighter for Black rights, but have you ever heard of the journey that transformed his entire worldview? In 1962, Malcolm X declared, "I was impressed the most by the Muslims of the Sudan. Their religious piety and hospitality are unmatched anywhere." These words of the icon of the civil rights movement hint at a journey not just of miles, but of mind and soul. Today, we unravel the lesser-known chapters of Malcolm X's story, exploring how his travels to Sudan and Gaza transformed his understanding of freedom and justice. Let's take it back a bit. Malcolm X, born Malcolm Little in 1925, was destined for greatness, but not without hardship. Growing up in Nebraska, his early life was marred by tragedy. The murder of his father, a staunch follower of Marcus Garvey, and the institutionalization of his mother plunged him into the foster care system. Young Malcolm found himself on a tumultuous path that led him from the streets of Boston to the underbelly of New York, where he was nicknamed Detroit Red for his hair color and charisma. From survival to strength, Malcolm's fire was forged in the formative years of his life. In 1946, Malcolm's life took a sharp turn when he was sentenced to prison for burglary. Behind bars, however, he found more than confinement. He found faith. He learned about the Nation of Islam, an organization that preached Black self-reliance and empowerment. The teachings of Elijah Muhammad resonated with him, and Malcolm converted, changing his surname to X to symbolize the loss of his African heritage. This was the first step in Malcolm's transformation from a petty criminal to a formidable advocate of Black empowerment. Fast forward to 1959, Malcolm embarks on his first trip to Africa as an ambassador of the Nation of Islam, stepping into Sudanese soil with a mind eager for understanding. In Sudan, a land of rich history and cultural depth, Malcolm was guided by the young psychologist named Dr. Malik Bedri. Together, they traversed the streets of Khartoum and Durman, immersing Malcolm in the vibrant life and resilient spirit of the Sudanese people. If you've ever met Sudanese folks, you will know that their warmth and spirit have a truly transformative magic. Malcolm's encounters in Sudan were eye-opening. He saw firsthand a society of Black, Arabic-speaking Muslims, newly freed from colonial rule, living a faith that resonated deeply with his own. This experience completely shattered the narrow views that he inherited from the Nation of Islam, expanding his perspective on what it meant to be Muslim and a Black man in the fight for justice. One figure who profoundly influenced Malcolm was Ahmed Osman, a chance acquaintance from Harlem. Osman played a crucial role in guiding Malcolm towards Sunni Islam and arranging his Hajj pilgrimage in 1964. Their theological discussions delved into the differences between the Nation of Islam's teachings and Sunni Islam, emphasizing the inclusive nature of Islam. It was on this pilgrimage that Malcolm had a profound spiritual awakening, realizing Islam's potential as a unifying force against oppression. In Mecca, Malcolm wrote, "I am for truth, no matter who tells it. I am for justice, no matter who is for it or against." These words encapsulate the breadth of his transformation, reflecting a shift from a strictly racial perspective to a universal struggle for justice. Yet, Malcolm's journey didn't end there. In 1964, just after completing the Hajj pilgrimage, he traveled to Gaza. Although this was not his first visit to Palestine, having been to Jerusalem in 1959, his trip to Gaza was particularly impactful. Here, he witnessed the plight of Palestinian refugees firsthand, visiting the Khan Yunis refugee camp and meeting with leaders and poets like Harun Rashid, who shared their stories of struggle and resilience. In his travel diaries, Malcolm documented the dire conditions of the camps and the stories of massacre and displacement. He saw the suffering of Palestinians not just as a distant tragedy, but as a reflection of the global struggle against oppression akin to the fight of Black Americans against racial injustice. Being the radical activist that he was, Malcolm wasn't really known to tone it down. Less than 2 weeks later, Malcolm penned an influential piece titled Zionist Logic in the Egyptian Gazette. In it, he articulated a deep understanding of the Zionist project, its colonial roots, and its divisive role in anti-imperialist movements of Africa and Asia. The essay warned African nations about Israel's so-called aid and its underlying neo-imperialist motives. Malcolm wrote, The ever-scheming European imperialists wisely placed Israel where she could geographically divide the Arab world, infiltrate, and sow seeds of dissension among African leaders, and also divide Africans against the Asians. His words demonstrated a sophisticated grasp of the geopolitical chessboard, warning of the sinister neo-imperialist tactics of aid and diplomacy. Malcolm's travel to Sudan and Gaza were not mere footnotes in his life, but pivotal chapters in his evolution as a global thinker. These experiences enriched his understanding of intersectionality in the fight for liberation, highlighting the interconnectedness of struggles across borders and cultures. In Sudan, he saw the possibility of unity amongst Black people beyond American shores, exploring the ways in which the fight for justice was a shared human endeavor. The hospitality and faith that he witnessed deeply influenced his understanding of Islam as a faith that shatters all systems of oppression. In Gaza, he recognized the shared plight of those under colonial rule, understanding that true freedom could not be achieved in isolation. His reflections of the Palestinian struggle underscore a profound realization that the fight for justice transcends racial, ethnic, and national lines, calling for solidarity amongst all oppressed peoples. His experiences in these regions highlighted the importance of global solidarity and the dangers of imperialism in all its forms. They inspired Malcolm to advocate for a broader coalition of the oppressed peoples worldwide, challenging not only racial injustice, but also economic and political exploitation. Malcolm X's journey from the streets of America to the deserts of Sudan and the refugee camps of Gaza tells a story of transformation and awakening. It challenges us to broaden our perspectives, to see the global dimensions of resistance, and to understand that the pursuit of justice is a collective human endeavor. So friends, as we conclude, I leave you with this question. How can we, in our time and context, build bridges of understanding and solidarity in the ongoing struggle for justice? Join us next time as we continue to explore the stories of resistance that shape our world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.